All right, guys. Well, this is Brian Carter. I am one of the coordinators for TGP events. I'm also the ADVM for the Texoma division, and just want to get a chance to connect with a couple of my favorite people in the CSP community, and just talk for a few minutes about, well, really kind of what we're all existing through at the moment, which is just some of the anxiety or some of the reality of dealing with the corona virus. This will be a really interesting story when we tell years from now, when people who weren't in the business then. And I think talking about how Corona single-handedly took down a month of the year for people who are not prepared. Probably not the first month that some of us have lost to Corona, but maybe not quite in the same capacity. So for my part, I've actually been with Cutco for a long time now. I've been here for since 2003. And so I have kind of seen a lot of really crazy and even intense things kind of come and go and ebb and flow. And there's really two challenges anytime you have sort of externalities that affect our business, whether it was the market crash in 2008. When I was coming to the business, 2000 and 2001 was obviously a crazy time for the entire country. And so we were still sort of feeling the dovetailing effects in the sense of recruiting and even some sales things. But the thing that I've seen in all of these is how the challenges in these external black swan type things that we face a lot of times create really exciting opportunities, but a lot of times we have to stop and take a breath before we're able to really take advantage of that. And so there's kind of two things that right now, in my own life and my own business, with my district office, with the division that I support, and even particularly with events, maybe especially with events, I think there's two challenges that we're kind of having to deal with. Number one is just the actual virus itself, like just being responsible citizens. Bruce and Allison had a really great letter, and it talked about how we want to keep our optimistic and entrepreneurial spirit while still being responsible and just, good citizens, not being a part of the problem, finding ways to be productive and smart while maybe not interacting with as many people as we usually do. So the first challenge is actually just navigating sort of that and getting our game right. The second challenge, though, is just the fear and anxiety that goes along with these sorts of events. It gets very easy. Kelly and I were supposed to work a big home and garden show this next weekend. And that home and garden show last year, the very first year of it, did like 24 grand. So obviously this is an exciting time. And, of course, that event is not happening. And so the reality is I haven't lost anything at this point. That was future income coming in, but sort of the way that I respond to that, the way I react to that, is going to have a really big impact on my business. So I think there's sort of the dealing with the emotion of it, both on our own level, but also with our clients. And these are the sorts of things that we just want to have good strategies and be smart with how we work through it. I'll tell you, anyone that's listening to this at this point, you're a leader in the business, you're a role model. And if there was ever a time for us to sort of try and call up to our leaders, I think now is that time, just to encourage and support each other to be our best. And that's what we wanted to try and connect here for a couple minutes today. So on the line, we have got, of course, the greatness of Mr. Seth Kinzer. Seth, I'm sure everyone knows and loves Seth. If not, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but Seth is so great. People from our team are marrying him and just relocating. He's that good. Kelly got first dibs, apparently. Stephen Decker was crushed. Okay, but we love Seth. Seth is a champion in the business. He's very active in multiple channels in the business, and he is someone that has managed to see success in so many different areas. Kelly Kinzer is also on the call as well. Kelly, of course, is my partner managing TGP events. And Kelly is someone that I think actually has a really unique perspective when it comes to kind of dealing with disruptions in your business. And the reason I say that is because Kelly is someone that has literally uprooted her life and her business multiple times. Now, that may be something that doesn't feel like a strong parallel right now, but every time Kelly has sort of uprooted her life, whether it was for school or moving to Dallas or moving back up north, she had a window of time where the things she would have done had she been in her home area to generate business weren't available. So she had to be smart. She had to find ways to look at new opportunities. She had to be more aggressive on the phone and working with past customers. And so she's been able to really weather that storm. And maybe the storm didn't blow in quite as quickly as it is right now, but I definitely feel like she's someone that has a great perspective. And then, of course, last but not least, we have Josh Muller. Josh, of course, is one of our national consultants. Josh is someone that has also been in the business for a very long time. He has also weathered so many of these storms, and he's someone that always brings really fresh and unique perspective. So for my part, I want to kind of stay out of their way, but maybe just have a little bit of a dialogue here. And I'd love to go ahead and kick it off to Seth and or Kelly, however y'all want to sort of take this. But why don't we throw it to y'all first, and just any thoughts or observations you have, whether it's adjustments in your business, things you're really encouraging your team, or even changes you're making to your own schedule or calendar, kind of however you want to go with it. Take the ball.
You go first.
You're fine.
So first thing that I took a step when I took a step back, we've had multiple events cancel up in our area as well, and at first it's easy to see the negative of like, oh my gosh, this future income I was supposed to have or I was relying on is now gone, right? So if the regular channel I'm selling through is not available to me, it's easy to think to go into victim mentality. And I always challenge myself and even Kelly, just like, hey, like, where's the blessing? Because there's always a blessing in disguise. What is this doing what is this forcing a lot of Americans who are constantly on the go to do is to be at home more. So one thing it's challenging me to do is to relook at areas of the business where I've neglected based on how busy I am doing the areas of business I perceive as the most important. One being just I'd like printed out all the people that I've tagged as prospective business gift clients over the last 2-3 years. I made a list and printed that off, and that's something that this week we're going to be going through. And I already have been like in contact with a guy who just 2 weeks ago at a business gift show or at a show was a business gift lead, and like I've had more time and more space for that to give it the due it's deserved. And got an email from him this morning like thanks for the follow up, and it's going to order about $1,500 to $1,600 worth of business gifts from me, and that was simply because I had the space and the opportunity to follow up with him in the way that he should be followed up with anyways. So my challenge to people and to myself even is just like, what areas of the business have kind of been put on the back burner that could be major needle movers? What areas of the business have you thought like, man, I wish I could give this the time it deserves to develop a new skill set or to integrate this new part in my business? I see this as a major opportunity. Another thing, this is from a mentality point of view, like people are forced to eat at home more. They're going to see the need for our product more than ever. It's like coming out of the recession in 2008, 2009, like 2009 was an absolute boom year for our company. Why was that? Well, because in times of uncertainty, people tighten their belt. And a lot of ways they tighten it is by cooking at home more and being at home more. And when they do that, they see the need more than ever of having a good quality product that improves their life. So that's a couple of my initial thoughts. Kelly?
Yeah, I mean, even like Seth said, just following up with like more business gift and, realtor customers or those people that maybe you had tagged or they said they were interested in cookware, interested in flatware. I'm just envisioning most of us have gotten really good at, wish lists, future customer lists, sales, marketing, and the nice thing is we don't need to call it a coronavirus sale, but let's say we have St. Patrick's Day coming up next week, right? What if you put out a sale to all of your residential or prospective, business gift, realtor, residential customers, whatever that looks like? What if you just put out a huge sale to everybody and called people and got your clicks and followed? People are at home. If they, a lot of times it's like, oh, I can't get a hold of people because they're busy and they're out and I call 3 times and I never hear back. People are at home. You don't have to go to their house. You can do this stuff over the phone. We ship stuff right to them. They don't have to go anywhere. They can cook at home. People still have money. People are still shopping. People are still, behaving very similarly to how they normally do. They're just kind of in a different environment. So if we can capture that where they are, I think, that's a huge opportunity. And, the other thing for me too is Matt Foss. I felt myself having kind of a scarcity mindset of wondering like, okay, people are talking about doing demos and service calls. So are people going to be open to having people come into their house though at a time like this? Like if I call up a customer and say, hey, you needed a service call, let's go ahead and do that. Are they going to be open to having me come over? I thought, maybe that wouldn't work. Like maybe customers are just going to say no to that. Matt Foss just posted on our group meeting last night. He's like, got on the phone, got 6 appointments set up since my show was canceled this weekend. Sorry, I have a cat on me. They said, he went over to their house and sold, I think he said, Brian, what was it? $3,100, right? Worth of stuff. So just be aware, get on the phones, right? That's never something that we should shy away from. Some people are going to be okay with you coming over and some people aren't. And we shouldn't not make calls out of the fear that like, oh, people aren't going to have us over. But don't take it personally if somebody's like, hey, I just don't want to be to come over to my house right now. And don't make it weird. Don't make them feel bad. Just put them on the list and be like, cool, I'll give you a call in a couple months or whenever is the time that fits better. And then keep them on that list. And then for me, the thing that I'm really not looking, well, I'm looking forward to, I guess is what I would say, is this is something that while it's unfortunate and uncertain right now, it's not going to last forever. You know, whatever the timeline is, a couple weeks, a couple months, whatever, I feel like things are going to come back in full swing even harder. People are going to come out in droves and be like, oh my gosh, we haven't been able to do stuff. It's state fair time. Let's get out there. Let's spend money. We've been cooped up. You know, I'm thinking about like, man, you know, I was supposed to have some service events, you know, scheduled here in the next couple of weeks. I'm thinking I'm probably not going to do them at this point because it's just kind of, you know, a group environment type thing, but maybe that's the right call. Maybe that's the wrong call. I'm not sure, but here's what I can say. Our initial plans, Seth and I, for this year we were actually going to be in Europe for 2 months, starting in May. We were going to be all there all of May and June. In Italy is where we were planning on being for a month. So we decided to push full steam ahead. We're going to go now. No, that's not what's happening. That trip is probably not happening at this point, as you can imagine. And so instead, we're devastated, by the way, but instead I'm thinking, you know, I could like try to do these service events here in a couple weeks, or why don't I, the time that I was going to be off anyway, why don't I maybe do those then? Maybe why don't I do a big service event in May or in June, or when kind of the timing seems more right? That's the decision I'm making for my business, because I'd rather, for some of these that I'm traveling hours away to, I'd rather just take it down the road a little bit. And you know what? I bet that when I'm working in May and when I'm working in June, I'm going to have massive numbers at my service events. So, you know, it's one of those things where maybe we're at a little bit of a pause right now, but can I reschedule the rest of my year, you know, to still make this be an amazing year? You know, we've got kind of an interruption, and normally I like to be selling right now and I'd like to have my time off in May and June, but maybe that's going to be flipped, you know, this year. Maybe that's going to look different, you know, because of obviously things outside of our control. And then as far as, oh, the other thing I was going to say too is if you guys were at the net meeting, you probably remember Stacy Campbell when he was during his standards talk, which is something I really enjoyed. One of the things he mentioned is that, you know, people talk about thinking outside of the box. When really what we need to be doing is thinking inside of the box. You know, we don't live in a world where there's just unlimited decisions and opportunities and you can do whatever. A time like this is when there is a box around us. There are constraints that were not normally there. We didn't have to think about it or worry about it. We could just go to a show and work, and people were there and it wasn't a big deal. You know, so now's the time to look at your business and, you know, what areas of opportunity and what creativity could you come up with that you weren't normally thinking about because you didn't have to. You know, again, sales, service calls, demos, you know, virtual appointments. Like if you've never done a virtual demo before, but there's somebody you know who's like a good prospect, go do a virtual demo. You know, Brian was posting videos on our GroupMe about that. Like he usually sends that to his new reps. And he was posting it for our CSP and our Fair and Show community to just say, what would a virtual demo look like? You know, are you open to something like that? So it's not like there's just, you know, CPO raining from the sky right now, like oftentimes it feels like there is for us. But, you know, can we get creative at a time like this and still drum up business, however, you know, whatever means we have. And then also, like I said, kind of from a just a personal standpoint, obviously for us, there's, you know, there's just like everybody else, there's kind of fear and uncertainty of like, well, how long is this going to take? What's this going to look like? Even just not getting caught up in the kind of fear, you know, the fear that's just kind of going around like, are we going to get sick? Are people we know and love going to get sick? What's going to happen? There are so many questions that obviously we're all asking, and it's not that we should ignore those questions, but, you know, Seth and I were talking about this morning, just, you know, we're informed on what's going on. There are some precautionary measures and steps to take that we're taking. And then other than that, it just is what it is. And this is the situation that we're in right now. And we could sit in our house all day and be negative and upset and fearful. But instead I said, you know what, like, man, there've been so many books that I've been meaning to read that I just haven't taken the time to. You know, there's a couple shows on Netflix we just haven't gotten to. We've heard of great things about. We've got projects around our house that we were always working and we just haven't taken the time to do. So, you know, Seth and I, we got stocked up on groceries. I bought some cakes. I'm like, I want to do some baking. Like, we're just seeing this as, you know what, we've got a couple weeks at home. Let's enjoy our time together. Let's enjoy our house. Let's get caught up on stuff. And let's kind of get mentally prepared for when stuff does come back around, which when it always will, right? When stuff does start to kind of go back to normal a little bit, we're ready to just hit the ground running. And we've got stuff checked off the list. We're in a good place. We're organized. We've got everything situated. And we can dive headfirst right into work. You know, one of the things Seth always tells me and reminds me and tells other people is, you know, we make hay while the sun is shining. And while it's good to, you know, we're still going to try to be drumming up business during this time, we're also just going to, you know, take the time for what it is. And man, when that sun comes back out again, we are going to be out there at 5 a.m. ready to hit the ground and ready to start making hay. So, you know, that's
not actually at 5 a.m.
No,
just to be clear.
We like sleeping at 9:30. We'll be out there making the hay. But we're, you know, we're just, none of us can control the situation. So we do what we can. And then, like I said, we get creative with what the solutions are. And then we just look forward to when things get back to normal. And, you know, we're going to be changing, like I said, the rest of our year in order to kind of accommodate some of these unprecedented events. But we're going to be working hard for the rest of the year, and it's not going to slow us down as far as annual, you know, sales go.
I love it. There's so much in there that really resonated with me and connected with me. You know, it made me think of a few things from some conversations I've had with other people. Adam Conroy, we were talking about this, and he is doing kind of like a campaign reaching out to realtor clients of his for closing gifts. And, you know, the messaging is pretty simple. It's like, hey, man, with the way, you know, the market has hit, interest rates have dropped crazy low. So maybe right now it's hard for you to get in a room and do a lot of closings, but you're going to get a flood of closings, this backlog of closings. Let's go ahead and knock this one thing off your list. You know you're going to do it anyway. Let's do it while we both have the time and it's not so stressful, and I'll give you the extra coronavirus discount. Okay. And I love that, like him seeing the opportunity and the challenge, because it's for real. You know, Dane Espegard put out some stuff to his division, and he was talking about how, you know, the whole dip in the stock market and the recession, that's another thing that can be really easy to focus in on. But guys, that's not the money people are buying Cutco with. Like that's affecting long-term savings. Anyone who's invested smartly they're not withdrawing from the market now. In fact, hell, Matt Foss was just putting in how he put another $6,000 into the market today after already having maxed out his IRA, because you're just buying the stock market cheaper. Be smart about it. Do index funds, do mutual funds, but at the same time, it can be such a smart opportunity. You know, talking to Drew Frank, Drew was talking about how for him, one of his big things with his DMs and even his CSPs right now is just talking about watching your finances. It's easy to sort of let, you know, anxiety or stress about money coming in, you know, really catch your attention. But how much attention are you paying to money going out? You know, maybe this is a time to renegotiate your cable bill. If anyone still has cable, who's that? Okay. But maybe you're going to put off a big purchase or two. Maybe you're going to just watch your expenses a little bit more, just be a little more careful with that. And I actually love what Kelly was talking about too, about even the time you're in your house. How are you going to really capitalize and make the most of that? I think it's very easy to get when you have this feeling of being kind of powerless. It's easy to sort of feel numb about it. And I know for me, I kind of have to control the messaging. Like everything I listen to like sports podcasts, and it's like Corona, and I listen to all these other things, and it's like COVID-19. And I got to control the messaging. Like yesterday, I was watching like the Muppets with my kids. And then once I went to bed, I was listening to podcasts of like true crime, which is just like murder porn. It's not good for your soul, but it's at least something, you know. It was easier for me. So, you know, we went through though and started to say like, hey, you know, I've got things that legitimately need to get done, you know, going through some things in my house, but not letting myself get to that point where I'm just sort of numb. One last thing that we're doing, which I could easily see happening for service calls. By the way, it was 3,900 for Matt Foss, 3,900 line one. I don't know what CPO, but line one was 3,900. But one of the things that we're doing in my office for recruiting, which I could easily see for service calls, just went and bought like 50 of those little travel size bottles, little mini bottles, and just did some of the homemade sanitizer. Please don't do crazy woo stuff, but if you get the rubbing alcohol, it's like 90%. Mix it with some aloe vera, you fill it in there. CDC actually has stuff on there for how to do this safely and effectively. And literally, as where people are coming in, we're going, hey, by the way, you know, we're taking this very seriously. We would still love to meet with you if possible. If not, we'll do it virtually. But if you come in, we're going to, not only do we have it here, we're going to send you home with an extra bottle or two of sanitizer, just to make sure that we're all doing our part. So, I mean, I could even see that being a funny thing if you're booking a service call. Be like, hey, by the way, I'm clean. I know you are too, but I'm going to bring you some extra hand sanitizer just in case you need it. You know, and it's just sort of, it's this weird but funny opportunity to create rapport with people and just sort of share a human moment. But I love the intentionality you guys are having right now. I can tell you're not being a victim to any of this, and you're planning out good things for your summer. You're planning good things for your year, but you're also finding good activities you can do right now, which I think is so great, so great. I love it. I love it. Well, Josh, man, what a great time for us to get your experience and knowledge and wisdom, man. How's this affecting your business now, or what kind of strategic changes are you making to really help you through this window of time? Let's turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks. And great stuff, Kelly, Seth, Brian, all for sharing. And kudos to Brian. Just shout out to Brian for even putting this together and just putting, shooting some shots across the bow and saying, hey guys, I want to do something for the CSP community because we're all getting lots of questions, and let's talk. Let's just hop on a Zoom video call and talk about what we're doing. And so I just want to say thanks for doing this and being, the spark that hopefully this, that ignites the flame that can hopefully help people just feel better about what's happening right now. So, the reality is COVID-19, it's this thing, it's happening. There's nothing we can really do about it. And, I think the first thing that really comes to mind for me, because everyone around is talking about it, customers are talking about it, promoters are talking about it, city officials are talking about it, politicians are talking about it, the news is talking about it, everybody's talking about it, right? And so I think the biggest thing right now for me is really just taking on the can't change it mentality. Thank you, Hal Elrod, which is like, hey, you know what, this is happening and we can't change it. All we can really control is not what's happening around us, but how we show up and how we approach, that stuff. And so, when I started with Cutco, my interview was on 9/10/2001. My first day of training was on 9/12. And 9/11 happened right in between. And so, I remember hearing that a homemaker at the time was $895 and thinking to myself, like, holy shit, like really? Are people really going to spend $900 on a set of knives, after 9/11 just happened? Like, is that really what I'm going to do? And I just remember saying, well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to get out in the world, do the work, follow the program, and have fun. And I mean, I sold a lot. I think I remember, being inspired by hearing that it was the New York City office, like the Manhattan office, that went out and after 9/11 had a Silver Cup performance for the year. Not because of how they did in the summer, but actually because of how they did in the fall with, everyone on the New York team rallying around, and coming together as a community and really supporting each other and working hard through the end of the year. And, JPB, who's still in the business, was actually a part of that team. And so, so I think it's important to remember, even after I remember the Great Recession in 2008 and the markets fell and everything dropped. And the crazy thing was shows weren't being canceled, just nobody was coming to shows. And so we were sitting in the booths for, 8, 10, 12 hours a day with literally like no people coming. And this was not when we knew how to sell packages and programs and bundles and sets at the booth. This is when we were literally selling cheese knives. And if we were lucky, like buy 2, get 1 free. And if we were really lucky, it was like buy 3, get the 4th one free, right? And so, it was a really hard time, and shows weren't being canceled, which means that we still had to pay for those shows and a lot of things still had to happen. And so it was, there was some time of suffering. There was some time of adjustment. In fact, and what I've found is that in Great Challenge, or from Great Challenge is born, out of necessity, great innovation. And so, I remember, learning how to sell 5-piece specials and package deals and sets and things like that at the booth, because the simple reality was that we had fewer people to talk to. And so in order to make it a profitable day, we had to create bigger results with the people that we did have the chance to talk to. And I think about how, it was so much more important during those tough years of 2008, 9, 10, as the market recovered, and how important it was to not only get great at skill sets, but also to get leads and to follow up with those leads and to make sure that we were committed to really working hard, not just working hard, but also working smart too. And so, so there's a few things I think that come to mind for me when I think about how do we respond to this in a way where we don't suffer, and instead we're able to pivot and take advantage of the opportunity and really maximize what's available to us, what's in front of us. One of the things that Amy and I learned in studying just business and stuff like that is that, in business, stability is defined as a business's ability to absorb shock. And so really what this is it's just a shock to our, business at this point. And the question you have to ask yourself is, how prepared are you to absorb that shock? And, your mindset and how you act in the coming days and weeks, that will be what determines how well you absorb this shock. And the reality is we all have it within us because our businesses are, how we work is so flexible. We're able to be so flexible and so nimble, and we're able to pivot so easily because we run our own businesses, that all of us should be able to absorb this shock really, really well, and not have it put us out of business or destroy our business. If that happens, it's simply because you're allowing yourself to be overtaken by everything that's happening in the media, everything that people are saying, and all the negativity, instead of focusing on just making good choices and continuing to move forward towards your goals. Now, the beauty is we have to remember that, where focus goes, energy flows. And so, the focus is right now, every day, everything's evolving, right? And so what is happening today may not be what's happening tomorrow. What's happening this week may not be what's happening next week. So I'm not getting all caught up in what's happening right now and how things are right now. I mean, sure, the Houston Rodeo was canceled. That sucks. I was supposed to be there for 7 days this coming week. The Tulsa Home and Garden Show, we didn't, we worked 3 out of the 4 days. They actually canceled today. And, we're all just kind of hanging out now. And even the 3 days we did get to work, I sold a third of what I usually sell in those 3 days. And so definitely not what we were expecting, definitely not what we were hoping for. And the crazy thing is there's literally no active cases of coronavirus in Tulsa right now, within hours of us right now. There's nothing. So cities are responding in a way where they're taking proactive precautionary elements to keep our communities healthy and safe. And that's great. The thing that I'm remembering though, is that, this is really it's an issue with large groups of people in small confined spaces where transmission can easily happen. And so if that's what everybody's trying to avoid, great. Events are not going to be the way to sell Cutco over the next couple of months. So there's a couple things that we need to do, right? We need to remember that while other salespeople and other entrepreneurs and other companies, that's the only sales channel they have is working events. For us, it's not the only sales channel we have. We all have, especially the CSP community, we all have multiple different channels that we can leverage to our advantage. So what should we leverage now? I mean, let's get back in home. Let's do virtuals. I have a virtual demo on Monday. I've got service events and service calls next week. And I'm not changing my plans just based on the fact that my home and garden show was canceled. Instead, I'm doubling down on the other layers of my business. And I'm going to be asking customers for referrals and going and seeing those referrals. I had a lady reach out to me the other day and say, hey, can you come to my house? And I said, I'd love to, but I'm not going to be in town. How about we hop online together and go through the website together? And so, I've got a few virtual appointments scheduled. I'm looking at all the leads. Look at the pile of leads that I hear so often from my coaching clients and my mentees, and just, lots of you that are watching this right now. Man, I just, I sign up leads, but I never have time to follow up with them. I literally have a pile of hundreds of people. Well, now's the time to call those hundreds of people, right? If you don't have any events over the next couple of months, great. Go get in people's homes and do demos and do service calls, provide people with the service that they deserve, and go see them. Show them that you're willing to, A, be responsible by staying healthy, staying sanitary, staying clean, all of that, but also B, still, stay successful by working hard. And instead of having them come to you in a big environment where it may not seem as safe as it could be, instead you're willing to go the extra mile and go to them. Customers don't expect it, but then when you offer it and you actually do go show up on it, they appreciate it at an even higher level, especially in today's world where service events and normal events are kind of the way people buy Cutco, from us in the CSP community. So get back out in people's homes, go sit at people's kitchen tables, go, drink lemonade with people and tell stories and build rapport and get to know people and upgrade people. I mean, a lot of times we can get accomplished with 3 to 5 appointments in a day, the same amount that we would get accomplished in 10 hours at the booth. Right. And so, and keep in mind, even service events, it's an event and it is in public, but it's still I don't do 2, 3, I don't even do, I definitely don't do 10 or 20, appointments all at once. It's one person at a time. Somebody comes in, they get service, then they leave. The next person comes in, they get service, then they leave. It's just one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. People should not be fearful of that. Now on the phones, I do think we have to acknowledge what is true, right? What is true is that there's a global epidemic right now, global pandemic around, happening. And so it's important to just ask people, hey, how are you feeling? Have you been showing any symptoms? Great. Okay, me neither. So we're both safe. Let's get together. Let's get your knives sharpened. Or hey, let's get together. Let me come out and show it to you. Or hey, if you're worried about it, let's just hop online together. And we can't worry about whether or not people have money to spend. The reality is people have money to spend. Our best years as a company were actually the years of 08, 09, and 2010. I remember like traveling so much and like selling so much and going, like 2009 was the first year I sold $300,000, won the Silver Cup. And I remember that like was not easy. It took a lot of hard work, harder work than ever before. But I remember people asking like, hey, so like, you guys must really be suffering. I mean, $1,000 set of knives, like during the great, recession, like are people even buying this stuff? And I think how we respond when people ask that type of a question is just as important as how we're showing up for ourselves in the world. And it's important to respond in a really intelligent way where it just makes sense to people why we're still successful. How it just makes sense to people, like in a way where it just makes sense to people how it is that like Cutco can still thrive during a challenging time like this. And like Seth said earlier, people are cooking at home more. They're reminded more now than ever before of how crappy their kitchen stuff is, or how awesome their Cutco is if they already have it, right? And so we need to leverage that to our advantage by just responding to people when they ask and saying, actually, you know what? We're doing great. Like we're crushing it. Yeah, sure, we lost a couple shows. That's not big a deal. We have hundreds, thousands of clients all over the country that are having us come out and sharpen their knives right now. Tons of people are still at home cooking. In fact, when the market tanks, that's when people are less disposable with their income. That's actually when people are more looking for long-term investments. That's when people understand the value of like buying something once and having it the rest of their life. So in fact, when things get tight and things get tough, that's actually when we do our best because people are looking for investments just like Cutco. And if you're not saying that to customers, you're not saying it to yourself enough. And if you're not saying it to yourself enough, it's really easy to lose sight of your high level of belief. We have to have bulletproof confidence in our product, in our service, in what it is that we offer to our customers and why now is the best time of all times to be making those types of investments, right? And then we just have to help people feel comfortable with the idea of seeing us, right? And I think about, like Kelly said, all the wish lists, all the people in the future order pipeline, all the people on my hot list right now, like my hot list gets lots of attention from me during a sale promotion, but not a lot of attention from me between sale promotions. So it's like every few, months I hunker down and get, really attentive to that thing. Well, now that's going to be like my golden goose for the next couple of months, at least until this whole thing blows over. So even if you've only got 5 or 10 people who told you, call me back in the future and I will buy more from you, or, hey, I got, I'm interested in something. Maybe it was an email that you got from a customer you never responded to, or a text that you lost track of, or somebody who just fell into a crack. Or maybe it's somebody you need to follow up with, but you just haven't had the time to follow up with them. Now is the time to do that. Now is the time to get out there and really work those leads, work that hot list, and make sure that you're helping people see the value in what you have to offer regardless, and that you're offering them multiple options on how they can get it, like take advantage of your products and services from you, regardless of whether or not they're seeing you at the booth. Also, I think this is a great opportunity to hunker down on training. So, if you're planning on running a sale promotion and you're not exactly 100% confident in how to maximize results with that, well, if you've invested in Sale Promo Max, go rewatch that training and learn that training. If you need that training, then talk to Vast Action and get invested in that. If you know there's a script that you could be tighter on, like I had a great conversation with Seth the other day where I'm like, hey, I really need to maximize new customers this weekend. You've been selling a crap ton of ultimates. Help me understand what to do. And, I sold 3 signature sets over the last 3 days just because of 2 simple things that Seth shared with me in that message, that I was like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Like, thank you, Seth. And I just, I was so excited to have that information. And I'm not 100% sure that I would have sold those signatures at least as quickly or as confidently as I had if I hadn't talked to Seth that morning. So hunker down on your training, go listen to audios, go watch videos. There's plenty of free training out there. There's plenty of other training you can invest in. Now's the time to double down on your investments. And then of course, approach things with love and patience. The reality is that not all customers are going to want to talk to you. Not all people are going to respond positively to you. The whole world around you may not be, operating from a place of, I'm not saying, be overly positive. I'm just saying come from a place of balance. Like, to me, I'm just about being centered. I don't feel good. I don't feel bad about this. I'm coming from a place of you know what? I'm not sick. I'm grateful for that. And so here we are, everybody's kind of freaking out. Okay, that is what it is. Everything's changing from day to day. Okay, that is what it is too. I can't change any of this stuff. So I'm just going to do my best in the world, serve my clients at the highest level in the world that I possibly can. I'm just going to keep charging forward. I'm going to make strategic pivots. I'm going to change what I'm focused on. If this doesn't work, then I'm going to go over here, try that out. If that doesn't work, then I'll try something different. It's all about finding ways that we can keep going and keep moving forward. And then for those of you that are coordinators, or you book your own events, I highly recommend that you take some time while you have the time, when events are not happening over the next few weeks or months, take some time to review your contracts. And you want to look in your contracts, like if you have to request the contract from Olean, do that, or maybe you sign the contract yourself so you have a copy of it, or even just reach out to your promoters and ask for a copy of your contracts. But Olean should have all the contracts on file. So, request your contracts, and then look for a cancellation clause. Almost all of our contracts with promoters have some form of a clause in them regarding cancellations. Where this may not be as true is with like some of the little smaller mom and pop cash, like cash type events, or, events that are put on by the little old lady in the community who, has been running this one event for 5 years, and like all the local craft vendors come and they're all her friends, and we just happen to get connected to it, and all the old ladies that come to it love it and they buy a ton from us. That's why we're doing it, right? But most of the events that we're doing that have been canceled, more than likely we have contracts with, and likely there's a cancellation clause in there. Now, cancellation clauses can vary wildly from one spectrum to the other, but in many cases, if the promoter chooses to cancel the event and you have a cancellation clause, there may be something in there about being able to get a prorated refund. So like if they did day 1 but canceled day 2 and 3, right, they would prorate and give you a refund. Or they may have something that says something about a credit towards a future event, as long as that event happens within a certain period of time. Or they may just say, you're shit out of luck. Like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like, I have seen cancellation clauses that say in the event where the event is canceled, the vendors are not, entitled to any form of a refund. The promoter can choose. The promoter has the right to choose how they want to approach that moving forward. And so, right now, a lot of us feel uncertainty, especially around the financial element of it, with, events dropping and being canceled left and right, knocking down like dominoes, right? And really that uncertainty just comes from a place of not knowing what's going to happen with the money of it, right? And so you can make yourself feel a lot better by just getting clear on what it actually looks like in terms of your contractual obligations or agreement between you and the promoter. So take some time, look at your cancellation clauses, get at least really clear on, like, are there events where you could get a refund? Are there events where you could get future credits? Are there events where you're just SOL? And at least get clarity on the landscape of that, because that will help you feel more confident and more comfortable in the decisions that you're making moving forward. And then go from there. And then don't hesitate to reach out to those of us at the national level. We're all here to support you. Let us know what's going on. We just want to hear. We want to know what's happening. And don't hesitate to shoot a text and email, to me or anybody else that that's working on the national team, because we just want to hear what's happening. We want to hear how people are feeling. We want to hear your questions. We want to hear your concerns, because that's going to inform all of the conversations that are happening behind the scenes at the national level, about how we can best support the community moving forward as things continue to change and evolve and all of that. I've had multiple conversations this week with multiple people at the national level, and I can tell you that a lot of work is happening behind the scenes with the owners and the executives and the leaders of our company to figure out, like, what does this look like moving forward? What does support even look like? What are people's questions and concerns? So they're saying, hey, keep us posted, share feedback with us, because that's going to inform, how we take steps moving forward.
I love it. There's so much good stuff in there. And I think I just love the proactive focus Josh has on, this isn't going to change what we do. It's going to change how we do it. I love Seth and Kelly just taking time to, focus in on how is this affecting kind of both my business and my personal life. What maybe sacrifices do I need to make in terms of like travel or some things later in the year, just to get me back to the baseline I need to be at. But they're prepared to do that. They're doing it with their eyes open, and you can just tell that they have so much more calm and peace about where they're at, because they're making these empowered choices. And I think Josh hit such a big note that a lot of these sort of nerves and anxiety, I think that a lot of people are feeling, it's just coming from a place of just not knowing. And I know how that can be. I don't want to minimize that, but here's my I think my biggest piece of advice, because Josh talked about being at like a place of balance and chill. I'm the opposite Okay. And the particularly the three people on this call really know that. I exist in just the void of extreme, which isn't always healthy. I just try to temper it based off what's happening. And so I'm that emotional guy. I'm that guy that blows with the wind. So I think for me, what I have to make sure I'm doing is just turning that sort of drive and passion and emotion I can feel, and just making sure I'm consistently directing it to really positive ways. There's times in my communication with my customers it could be better. Now's the time to do that. There's times with systems, with events. Now is the time to do that. There's times for coaching calls and mentoring and brushing up on scripts. Now is the time to do that. The worst thing I could do right now is if I just sort of shut down and just sit there twiddling my thumbs, because I'll go crazy. Last thing I will throw out though from my own self, guys, for people like me, because I love all my chill vector zen people. Y'all are not most of the population. Most people are basket cases like this guy. People are going to be ready and excited once like the starting gun goes off. I already have family here that they're part of the problem. They're already the ones like, it don't matter. Let's go to Six Flags. And we're like, no, of course not. It's closed. And no, all right. So understand there's a lot of people that already are resentful things are closing, and there's a lot of people that are going to get some pretty heavy cabin fever. We need to be smart and responsible, but within a couple weeks of people mostly doing the right things, we kind of hit this point, it is going to level out. So I can tell you right now with my customers, I'm still promoting that, hey, about a month from now, we're still planning our next round of service events. Of course, based off circumstances, we might push that back. We're going to do the responsible thing. But I think having a plan that you're ready to go, and I would actually raise your expectations for how your summer events will likely go, assuming we hit the right point in the curve. Of course, that's out of our control. Of course, things are going to continue to update and change. But if we all just commit to doing the right things here for a window of time, I think it likely will. And I think there's going to be actually a lot of demand for people to have a little bit of escapism, for people to be able to get out, to do things, to interact with us. And I think that's going to create a really special opportunity. Guys, the big thing, I just want to echo what Josh said. Whatever you're feeling is normal and it's natural, and that's okay. You're entitled to it. But don't go down a rabbit hole of negativity or worry or stress. It's not helpful. Reach out to National, reach out to some of the experienced people that have been around for a long time, reach out to me, and at least you'll find a sympathetic ear. But now is a great time to do a lot of great things, as long as we just commit to keeping our wits about us, and don't give up those sales. And I'll wrap with this. Guys, you understand, like, we can manufacture these sales whenever we want. All right. It's great when we have external things like a state fair or a quality event. But guys, how many of our quality events overlap like the CSP push, like the virtual summit push and things like that? Like for TGP, it's like nothing. Okay. Our guys just go drop sales because they're able to drop sales when they get motivated and fired up and inspired to turn it on. And you can do that whenever you decide to. Why is SE2 so big for managers? Is it because that's when our team is the biggest? No, our team is the biggest a month and a half before that. Okay, that's the time we decided to make it big. And so much what we do around the holidays is not organic. It's manufactured by you guys. You're just using this one thing as a catalyst to use your talents and good structure and good training and good systems to go create massive sales. We can do that whenever. All right. And just take the confidence and the belief you can do that. And we're all going to get through this thing together. This is going to be a crazy story we tell on next year's rep trip. It's going to be a crazy story we laugh about in the future. Just don't let it derail your goals for the year because you get in your head or you make bad decisions right now. So thank you guys. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Kelly, for just giving so willingly and openly to the field. I appreciate that. And we look forward to connecting with everyone here really soon. So have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks.